Hi everybody, it's Marc, and today we're going to be talking to comedian Tim Heidecker. We will discuss unique comedy styling.
Comedy is so subjective, and everything isn't for everybody.
Making stuff.
How would you describe what you do?
I make stuff.
And the value of a creative community.
The audience for that show lives in character with us. So it becomes kind of this role-playing game.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to Marc Summers Unwraps.
So after a while, I wrote him a text this morning and I said, we've been having the same conversation for 10 years. When are you going to get a chance to fulfill your dreams? And some people just don't have it within them to take it to the next level. And I kind of feel sorry for those people, because if you have a passion for something but don't want to play the game the way it needs to be played, you're never going to get there.
So it's about dealing with reality and negotiating with it to get what you want.
You hit it on the head. You got to deal with reality. The rules don't go the way you want them to go. There are certain things that need to be done. And if you don't want to play by those rules, you may get lucky. You may become like Sylvester Stallone and finally get the lead in the movie that you wrote. But how many other of those stories have you ever heard that have been successful? Not many.
Hi everybody, Marc Summers. Today we're unwrapping Tim Heidecker. And Tim, welcome to the program. Nice to see you live and in person.
Yes, thank you.
You were very kind to have me on your program. And
we're doing a little podcast trading.
We are. That's going on a lot in the industry now, it seems, right?
Yeah, I guess trying to create little streams of communities and like-minded people, and yeah.
Do you listen to any podcasts in particular?
I listen to a couple. I listen to Hardcore History, Dan Carlin.
Yep, good.
Those
I love
are
it.
big, chunky, time commitments. I listen to a Beatles podcast. Actually, listen to a couple Beatles podcasts. And then, embarrassingly, there's a podcast about the show I do on cinema.
Yes, I know about that.
Yes, that these guys have been sort of analyzing the whole show and talking about it. And I dip into that to hear what they have to say. And it's actually been really, it's over, how do you say, it's too much love for the show. But they're also very smart. One of the guys wrote the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He's like a real Hollywood, screenwriter. And they have just such interesting insights on it that it actually is like helpful and sort of therapeutic to hear what they have to say. But aside from that, no, not too
really.
many. Yeah.
When your name came up, many people in the building got very excited that you said yes and that you were showing up. Okay, so I want to tell you a story, and I need help from you today. Okay, this is something I've never had to ask doing one of these things. So, do you remember a broadcaster by the name of Tom Snyder?
Yes.
So
the Tomorrow Show.
Tomorrow Show, exactly right. And then that went away, and then he stayed on the air doing various different variations of that theme. I loved Tom Snyder, and towards the end of his career, I was invited on as a guest. I was very excited. And at the time, I was hosting 4 different shows. It was a good little deal because it got me on the Tonight Show. It got me on Snyder. And he introduced me by saying, our next guest hosts 4 shows. He mentions them. And I stopped him and I said, and let me ask you a question. And he said, what's that? I said, and you have no idea who I am, and you've never seen one of these. And he said, you know what? You're right.
That's really funny.
It was funny. So when I grew up, comedy-wise, it was George Carlin, it was Rickles, Buddy Hackett, Shecky Green. I can give you the regular guys. When you grew up doing stand-up, there were influences, obviously. Mm-hmm. So
I never really did stand-up growing up, but
no, this is true. But as you grew up, you did do stand-up. So here's the question I have for you. I did a deep dive on you and spent an hour looking at your latest special online.
Yeah.
I went to school with Andy Kaufman.
Oh, yes.
Andy Kaufman was...
you went to school with Andy Kaufman?
Yes. Graham Junior College, Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow.
It was Andy, a guy by the name of Bert Dubras, who created Sally Jesse Raphael and Jerry Springer, and Paul Fusco created Alf, and there have been many other people, but we all, hung out and knew each other.
Yeah.
I never understood Andy's sense of humor at all. I never understood his comedy at all. I could tell you endless stories about me sometimes butting heads with Andy and sometimes kind of getting along. Who were your influences? And explain to me your sense of humor, where it came from, and because the crowds that I watched who watch you are absolutely in love with you.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time identifying with the kind of comedy you do. So you need to help me out.
Okay, I'll try. And again, I mean, it's not. Comedy is so subjective, and it's not. Everything isn't for everybody. So it's totally legitimate that you and many people are not going to click to it. So there's that. My influences, I would say, definitely Andy Kaufman.
Why?
Oh, it's just so interesting and strange and original and artistic and.
He was probably long gone before you got a chance to see him.
Yeah, I guess so. When did he die? 80 something, 81 or something like that.
Very young.
But it was around. It was on TV. Comedy Central would show some of his specials and old SNL and in college there was a video store that had his one of his specials that we kind of obsessed over.
The HBO one?
It was for PBS, I think. It was where he was sitting on this big.
Oh yes, very tall desk.
Yeah.
I remember that.
It's I think I've been thinking about him a lot lately because I hadn't really watched him in a few years, but I started going down another YouTube hole of his, and there's sort of this cool awareness of what entertainment is supposed to be that. The audience clues in on, and it's made for people that grew up or kind of were born in front of the television and have this very kind of deep a deep media awareness that is getting exhausting and tiring and there to be made fun of. So I think a lot of his stuff is satirical and making fun of what entertainment is supposed to be,
Letterman.
And Letterman certainly was a big part of that. And that's why he gelled so well on Letterman. Some of his best stuff was on Letterman.
In fact, Dave's getting ready to do a documentary about Andy.
And spoiler, I'm in it. They interviewed me for it. That's why he's been on my brain.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. When did you do the interview?
Just the other day. Him and Zmuda, his writing partner, when I watch it now, I'm seeing two guys just making each other laugh and playing and I think that's why if you clue in on it or if it works for you, it's because there's a joy in watching other people have fun and watching other people be creative and experiment.
The Tony Clifton character was the one thing that I really found entertaining. In fact, the first time I saw him, I was at the Comedy Store. I was sitting next to Will Schreiner, and he said, that's Andy. And I went, Andy who? And he said, I had no idea.
It's really, even to this day, watching old clips, you can barely see that it's him. Like, it's such a great... And Andy was such a great actor. If you watch all his stuff, there's great acting going on. There's great, if the bit where he's like down on his luck on Letterman, he's not shaved and his nose is dripping, like that's a great acting performance.
Yeah, I mean, performance art, I guess, is what everybody calls it. I mean, in many ways, Steve Martin does that to a certain extent as well, making fun of whatever show business is supposed to be.
Yes, totally. I think the Steve Martin, who I love, is kind of the light version of Andy Kaufman. Like he's giving you more of a access point, making it a little broader. That same idea, though.
Were you familiar with Steve Allen?
I mean, I was certainly familiar with him. I don't know if I would ever say I was like a fan or anything.
But he, all those people you just mentioned are derivative of Steve. Everything Letterman did somehow was rooted from what Steve Allen did.
Right.
And Andy, through relatives, was connected because he was related, I think, to Sam Denoff, who used to write, So there's this incestuous thing.
He's a Nepo baby.
Yeah, in many ways, a term that didn't even exist back then. But Andy was peculiar. And the question I always wondered was, if he would have lived, was his career over or was it going? I think his career was over. When they did the whole thing on Saturday Night Live about, if you want him to come back on I thought he was over.
I think I've thought about this a lot because I, for years, kind of used a lot of the same moves, using irony and characters and confusion to do my work. And Andy was like 35 or something when he died. Mm-hmm. And I think he was just an unlimited well of talent and creativity that I think the move. This is totally pointless speculation, but I think the move would have been to like break out of that world of irony and do something more genuine, or tap into what his great acting abilities or his love of music. These are all things that as I get older, I say, like, I can't just keep doing irony and satire in everything I do, because it's going to get exhausting and unsurprising to the audience.
Well, he took chances, and that's what I noticed about you.
Yeah.
You take amazing chances on stage.
Yeah.
Does that scare the living hell out of you?
No. I mean, it depends. It depends if I feel like I have an audience that's going to go along with it, then I can't wait to try and push them. But if I'm walking into I'm walking into a room of unsuspecting general audiences, there is a feeling of dread.
I don't know if you know Scott Rogowski. He used to host HQ.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking last night, and I was saying that you were going to be a guest, and he loves you. And he said, great. But he also told me about a time where you had some, I guess, 60-year-old people in the audience who had no idea what the hell you were trying to do. And you said something about, the 60s don't, jive with what the hell I'm doing up here.
The 60-year-olds?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's unfair because, and I've noticed this, your generation grew up with Andy Kaufman, grew up with Saturday Night Live and Steve Martin. And it might not have been your thing, but there's a generation that loved that.
Yep.
And that became fairly, I mean, not to keep going on about Andy, but he was very popular. Like, he's doing the Tonight Show. He's selling out Carnegie Hall. Like, he was a man of his time. It was weird, but it also connected. So
he got a lot done in a short amount of time.
He really did.
Yeah.
He packed it in. And actually, when you look at what he did, there wasn't that much. Like, he did a lot, but the act was kind of the act.
Yeah.
And there was like variations of it. So
I was at the Improv one night where he started to read The Great Gatsby and cleared the audience.
Yeah.
And Bud Friedman, the owner of the club, was laughing and thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen.
Yeah.
So if you were tuned into what Andy was doing, you loved it and you got it. It's like when he did Carnegie Hall and put everybody on a bus and took them, for milk and cookies.
Yeah.
Who the hell would have had the nerve to even think about doing something?
Yeah, and
like
then pull it off.
Yeah,
but my point is, like, I'm open to any age group enjoying my stuff. But and I think that those people are out there and they come to my shows and I see them, and that is sort of when I see an older person, I'm like, cool. Like, that makes me feel good, because I think those people should not be considered like, oh, they're old, they're not going to get it. Like, no, they're going to get it. They get this probably more than like Generation Z gets it.
Who do you laugh at now?
Who do I laugh at now? Man, Alan Partridge, the Steve Coogan's character, who I absolutely adore, I think is really funny. I made a list for this other thing I did the other day of like my favorite comedy stuff, but I still love the Three Stooges. I still can. They will make me laugh. If
Me
I watch
too.
them. Yeah, they're so stupid and the violence is so. I mean, it's funny to watch it now and be like, and as somebody that does this kind of stuff, slapstick, and like to see the hits, and they're like really shockingly real looking.
Yeah.
And real, probably.
I think so.
Yeah. So
we had Paula Poundstone here the other day, and she's the only woman I've ever met who actually liked the Three Stooges. Everybody from the female side.
My daughter likes them.
Oh, thank God for that.
Yeah.
There's just something amusing as hell about them.
Yeah.
Even, I'm almost 72 years old, and I still think it's funny as hell.
Yeah. So modern comedy's hard. I mean, I think when you do it, I think you are when I watch comedy, I get too analytical about it and sort of too kind of judgmental of it or jealous of it or whatever. So I don't. And there isn't a lot of like really funny laugh out loud stuff happening to me right now. The guy that's on my show, Vic Berger, when he makes a video, that usually makes me laugh really hard.
So when you realize that it's Sebastian Maniscalco and Fluffy, Joe Coy, these guys are filling up, huge arenas and all that kind of stuff, but they're not. You're not tuned into their sense of humor.
No, I mean, I can see what it is, and I can appreciate some of it for how clever it is, or like Chris Rock's special. I was like, all right.
What do you think of it?
I just didn't laugh.
I didn't laugh once.
It's just a guy yelling at me and stomping around, and
I was disappointed. I've seen him live several times.
laughed so hard I was in pain and was, for lack of a better term, disappointed with what I saw here this time. And my concern is, is it the aging process or was he just pontificating about
comedy? Like the biggest asset you can have making comedy is surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been so much stand-up presented to us over the years that you see all the moves, and it's very hard to be like completely surprised by somebody that will elicit that, because laughter is uncontrollable. It's hard to pretend laugh. Like, I think you do it sometimes to be polite. Or
Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Has the most recognizable pretend laugh in show business as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
See, this was my laugh right there, if I'm really analyzing it, was, to keep this energy going.
Right.
I didn't like consciously go laugh, but it's not like the kind of laugh where you feel you're uncontrollable. That doesn't come easy.
Did you like Conan when he was doing the talk show?
The original show, yeah, I liked it a lot. I grew up.
So probably what Johnny was to me, Conan was to you?
Yeah, that felt like my generation's... I still loved Letterman, too, when they were on around at the same time.
Yep.
Pretty much. But, yeah, I think when that whole switcheroo happened, the whole thing got a little, like, culty to me or something, There was just a little bit of, like, easy, man. Like, I don't know. This is obviously a big deal to you, but it's just a talk show.
The fact
so
that
I couldn't get involved in like caring about all
that
stuff.
whole Coco thing or whatever the hell
team,
that was.
Like you're on a team now. I'm like, no, I don't want to be on a team.
Well, anybody who really thinks that Jay Leno can call up a network and say, I want my show back, has no idea what the entertainment business is like. With all due respect to Conan, the show wasn't doing well.
Right.
And NBC had to make a decision, and their decision, not Jay's, was to bring him back.
Yeah.
But then there was all that controversy and angst about, Leno must be an asshole because he got the guy fired. Jay didn't have that clout,
Yeah. Well, I don't have sides on it because I don't care. It's not like it's. I think late night television is generally pretty bad. It's like pretty weak. So I don't. There's not a lot on there, even in the best of times. Letterman again. I loved early Letterman, and I love hearing him talk. I think he's one of the greats. So
I miss him.
Yeah.
When he went off the air, I kind of stopped watching late night. Quite honestly, there's nobody there who keeps me glued to the set so much.
No, there isn't.
I watch Kimmel, but it's just tough. I find myself watching House Hunters International.
Yeah, I watch like old cooking videos on YouTube. Like I watch
really?
and I watch like I watch a lot of old Carson too.
No kidding.
Because they do their YouTube does a good job of like just clipping stuff out and putting.
The best
ofs out, and so there's a ton of stuff there, and some of it's terrible
because it's dated.
Yeah, it's dated, but what I love about it is how relaxed it could be.
Yeah, I agree.
And you'd have like 3 guests on, and he's not the greatest interviewer.
No.
At all, but there's a relaxed kind of just it feels like actual chatting. It doesn't feel just like rigorous and programmed and rehearsed or whatever. And boom, like move on to the next thing. We're doing that, So I like it's not funny, but it's kind of relaxing.
So you grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and went to school in Philly or Temple, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so what were the early influences that made you say, this is what I want to do?
There was a range because I didn't really think about comedy until after college. We went. My partner Eric Wareheim, who I made most of my stuff with, or a lot of my stuff with. We were both film school students, so we were into all kinds of stuff. We didn't Scorsese and Kubrick and all the greats. Early, Quentin Tarantino was a big person. I was a huge Woody Allen fan. And still no, not at all. We look back now and you look at his work and you're like, oh, that guy's just a creep,
No, I get that. So what was your major at Temple?
Film.
It was film.
Yeah.
So you were going to get out, come to Los Angeles, and direct movies. Was that
That was the idea.
Okay.
And
so you got sidetracked.
Well, that's what I ended up kind of doing in a way. I direct a lot of stuff and I make I've made movies and been in movies, and Eric and I both came out here to LA in college to intern for a summer. They had like a summer, they still do. Temple has a summer program to work in the biz.
What was your intern job?
I had two. One was working for this company, Working Title, which makes really good movies.
Yeah.
And I was just like, handing out mail and answering phones. Answered the phone for John Malkovich, or he was on the other line, I should say.
Cool.
That was neat. And then I worked, the other side of the spectrum was I worked on a very low budget horror movie that I think starred Seth Green.
Oh, my.
Yeah. And I
Robot
was just...
Chicken.
What's that?
Robot
Chicken, yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, it was a great experience to see it all. But I learned, like, I didn't want to be a tradesman for the industry. I didn't want to take the route of production or, no offense to any of these people because they're super talented and hardworking, but, grips or electric or, I didn't see myself fitting in that world. So came back to the East Coast and waited tables and worked jobs and just made stuff with Eric on the weekend. Just got the cameras out and just goofed around, and eventually that started gelling into some kind of, sensibility.
So the first major break was?
The first major break was we had compiled like 10 shorts together. We sent our work around. I was at an office desk in New York just as an assistant, and made a list of like using the internet, which was kind of not
early.
It was kind of early.
Yeah.
It was like 2001, and made a list of like who I liked, and I think and sent it to some like talent agencies, like literally A1 talent agency, because I was looking it up alphabetically, and just made these like use the office, mail room as my little operation center. And one of the people we sent it to is Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, nice.
And Bob was, we were huge fans of Mr. Show, and he was definitely not a household name. He was like, if you were cool
You knew who he was.
into comedy, you knew who he was. Send him a demo reel, and he watched it and called me and was like, this is great. Who are you guys?
Your head must have exploded.
Totally thought it was a prank. And then we just kept talking. He kind of, Bob, as many people know, like really cares about comedy. You're like, it's his baby. And he hates a lot of it too. And wants to see good or interesting stuff rise up. And so he became sort of our advocate in town and got us into a couple meetings and got us an agent. And at the same time, Adult Swim was kind of sort of forming, and they were looking for new stuff. And
you were kind of pioneers.
We were kind of, we were some of the first shows that they put out that wasn't kind of made just from like cutting up old cartoons. So that was, it all happened pretty fast, I would say, over a couple of years from sending Bob to getting this first show, Tom Goes to the Mayor.
You've been a part of Adult Swim for quite some time.
I had been. I don't think I haven't had any association with them in a few years, but things changed over there, which as all things do. Yeah.
Amazing. So you're prepping for the tour that's going off this summer.
Yeah.
How do you prep for that? Do you go in and work out of the Comedy Store?
Well,
how do you do it?
Because
that used to be the way.
Yeah, I did. I don't go to the Comedy Store. They wouldn't have me there.
Really?
No, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. I don't know. It's not my scene. There's plenty of like, I would say, alternative. This place next door here, the Lyric Theater, is a good place. There's the Elysian Theater. There's Dynasty Typewriter. There's Largo.
So Largo's a little more mainstream.
It is, but it's. I don't mesh well with like the trad comics. Is that a fair thing to say?
What does that mean exactly?
The traditional comics, the guys that just go up there and are, your mainstream comics or whatever. I don't know. I've also been doing the act for so long that I don't really need to workshop much of it. It's intuitive, and I'll write new jokes. I don't feel the need to work that out. I do. The second half of the show is me and my music and my band. That requires a little bit of rehearsal that we would do on our own. But the show, we did this tour last summer, and we just came back from Europe. So the show's pretty much like we could show up tomorrow, and I'd be very happy with the show, you know. So, but I'm always jotting down notes, and I'll probably do a few sets at one of these alternative spaces this summer to try out a few things. But if it's the kind of act, as you know, that if it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's kind of like when Johnny would bomb. It was like better than
exactly
when that would happen. That's amazing. So you do what, about an hour when you go out there and do?
I do. No, the comedy set's about 40 minutes, 35, 40 minutes, and then the music's about an hour and a half. So the whole show is about 2:10.
So guys like you piss me off because you're multi-talented. And I tell you what I was really impressed with was your music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I sat and listened to that, and I thought, holy cow, this guy maybe should be spending even more time in that direction.
I'm trying to. That's the big challenge of my life right now is it's what I love. I mean, I love it all, and but I thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, I take
it seriously, and people are not sure whether they should.
Why?
Well, because they don't
expect it?
They don't expect it, and they're waiting for the joke to land. And so that
sometimes it does.
And sometimes it does. It's not, you know, I love Randy Newman and I love Warren Zevon, and those guys are very good at, you know, sending you into a couple different directions of a funny line and a very sad line. So
you mentioned the Beatles early.
Yeah.
They were an influence, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
What other musicians?
Oh, I mean, that whole genre, the Kinks, and I like a lot of country music, and I love it all. I love Pavement. I love, you know, Nick Cave. I love the band. I'm a huge Dylan freak. I know everything about that guy.
Do you really?
I've seen everything.
Have you seen him live?
I've seen him live a couple times. It's great. The last time he was in L.A., I saw him, and it was.
Was he singing only the vowels when you saw him?
No, he was good. He was strong. His voice was great, and I think. Yes, there's lots of things to. I love making fun of Bob Dylan too, but
why is that?
I mean, he's just such a character.
He is. He's a poet who kind of grew at the right time at the right place.
Yeah, and he's like my friend Vic. He couldn't get into Dylan for a while, and then just last week he's like, I finally got into him, and I think it's because I see him as like an outsider artist.
Yeah,
like he
was.
Yeah, I mean,
then he became mainstream.
He's very popular, but even in his popularity. The moves he makes, the choices he makes are so different than everybody else's.
Favorite Dylan song?
None. I can't. I mean, there's
too many.
Too many. I could name 100, but I mean, I like
the
a
Hurricane
Rolling Stone.
song.
No, I'm just kidding. Hurricane. Hurricane live in the Rolling Thunder Review era is one of the best performances I've ever seen.
Just such a beautifully written song.
Yeah.
Opened up a whole new area, which changed this guy's life.
Yeah.
It took a while, but, you know, he got there.
Yeah.
And he's still out there doing. I often wonder what happened to his voice. Is it just age that caused, you know,
cigarettes and age and drinking and
the lifestyle?
The lifestyle, yeah. But I think it's like fine wine. I think it's on his latest album. I think he sounds fantastic.
I haven't heard the latest one. I got to check that out.
It's great.
I just noticed, like, you probably are not a fan of this person, but I'm a huge James Taylor fan.
Yeah.
And his voice was like fine wine until right after COVID. And recently, he's just not sounding like James.
Oh, really?
And I wonder, there are people on the comments after a concert, they'll go, I wonder if James was sick tonight. I wonder if he wasn't feeling well. I just think at some point, you're singing for 50 years.
Right.
It just can't hold up that
long.
No,
it happens to everybody. I mean, I think it happened to Paul McCartnney and Paul Simon, you know, but that's why Dylan, like, he almost like has aged into that voice, like that, the kind of music he was making when he was 23, you know, it's like it took 50 years to get to where it actually sounds how it should sound, you know, because he's writing these kind of old blues songs and stuff.
So since you're so into music, and I kind of am, but not as much as I have a feeling as you, why can't bands and people stay together? You know, the Simon and Garfunkel story.
That's my favorite story ever. I mean, those two guys.
I mean, they've known each other since they're like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And it seems right now that they truly hate each other more than life itself.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Art wrote a book which finally pissed off Paul to the point where they don't want to talk anymore at all. I guess he said things, but I think they've always said things. I went to see him on their last tour together, and the first 3 songs didn't sound like Simon and Garfunkel, and then they kind of got into the groove. but you could tell they were bickering on stage.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Art, from what I've watched everything with those guys too. I love them. I love Paul Simon. I think Art. My guess is Art seems to be like insufferable as like a person, you know.
Yeah.
Like so, and I don't think Paul Simon is an easy guy either.
I'm sure he's not.
Yeah.
But without Art, Paul wouldn't be where he is.
For sure.
You know.
For sure. But Paul's done very well.
He has.
Since 1970.
He's done all right. He's written some amazing music.
Yeah.
And variations of various, genres that have all scored big time.
Yeah. So I heard a story. I don't know if this is true,
but
tell me. This is my favorite story about them, is that when they reunited to do a tour, somebody said, what does Art get out of the deal? What's his cut? And they said, it's 10%.
Oh, my.
And he's happy to take it.
Wow.
And that's like, I don't know if it's true. I love if it's true, because it's like, man, Paul Simon would be like, hey, motherfucker.
Yeah, without me.
You know what? I don't have to do this.
Right.
You want to do it? Come on board. Here's your here's your piece. But I mean, it's cutthroat for sure, and I wouldn't dare do something like that to somebody. But anyways, yeah, they're a very unique example, I think. But I think it's just human nature. You first of all, most times, I mean, think of the Beatles. You always start these things out of a sense of
passion
yeah. and fun, and it's a natural thing just to do with your friends. And you do it, and sometimes you have success, and when you have success comes money, and then you grow, and you want to do other things, and you can't always want to do the same thing as the other person. And I think in my case, I think with Eric or with other people I work with, I think we have the history of those first generations of people that have done this to look at and try to avoid some of those pitfalls where things can go really bad, and you can go, I'm never talking to you again, or I'm suing you or something like that.
I know it. When the Rascals came back for a tour. Are you familiar with them at all?
Yeah, the Young Rascals.
Yeah, Young Rascals.
But they now become the Rascals.
Right.
Yeah.
And because they're not so young anymore. And I went to see them on Broadway. It was such a good show.
Oh, wow.
It sounded like even better than I remember them.
Yeah.
But, it took them, 35 years to get back together.
Yeah.
I think the drummer just passed away not too long ago. But
some bands have figured it out. The Stones have figured it out.
They have.
The Who have figured it out, and it's probably due to them being like, here are my boundaries, and I don't really want to hang out necessarily all the time, or those, just making it clear where you are in that group.
Nothing more exciting. I mean, seeing the Stones live.
Never did it.
You never did, huh?
No, I missed them. Yeah.
Amazing. And I took my son. I was hosting something, I forget what it was, and the Who were there. And I took my son, he was like 13 or 14 at the time, and I had him in the front row.
Wow.
It changed his life.
Yeah.
He came up to me afterwards and said, that is the best thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Because when you see that kind of performance,
yeah.
And I think that all these old bands that are slowly going to go away because they can only mix, 80 now or something like that?
Yeah.
How much longer can they possibly do it?
Yeah.
Who's in their footsteps?
Not a lot. I mean,
there really isn't, is there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole generation of pop stars that I don't connect with.
Because they come and go.
Yeah. I mean, Beyonce and Taylor Swift, I guess. I don't really, it's not for me. But boy, people seem to love it.
Go out of their minds. Country, you mentioned country, which I don't understand at all.
Yeah.
Who are the artists that you like? And they seem to be around a lot longer than sort of pop stars.
I'm so bad with names.
At your age, come on, man.
Especially with country music, because they all have kind of the same name,
Billy Bob something.
Yeah, yeah. But Merle Haggard and Waylon. I love Waylon Jennings. He has this album called "Dreamin' My Dreams." That's one of my favorite records. And what's the guy's name who has there's a show on Showtime about him. Tammy and what's his name?
I know
he's
who you're talking
about. He's one of the great ones, and I always lose his name in my head.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, but my mind's up on it. In fact, I just read about this.
Yeah, he's got the raccoon eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember songs more than names, but all the greats, Johnny Cash, and I love like the country rock stuff, like the Graham Parsons and Flying Burrito Brothers and the Byrds when they did their country record. But yeah, I mean, not like modern country. I'm not listening to any of that stuff.
So given a choice, you could only do comedy, you could only do music.
I love that because I don't have to make that choice.
I know, but
I won't. Because this is the thing that has come up in my head, or people ask, because it's like, well, what do you like more? What do you want? I'm like, I'm just making stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's going to be funny and sometimes it's not. And I think the audience can kind of sort through it. But I don't want to feel like I have to make choices, because that feels irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It's like, I think there's more, for me, it's like, I think I'm relatively good at both, and it satisfies different parts of my itching creative endeavors. But
you're a bit of a chameleon, and so how would you describe what you do?
I make stuff.
You make stuff. Okay,
yeah,
fair
and
enough.
I hate to use the word artist. I'm an artist,
Uh-huh.
but I love stupidity, and I love making people uncomfortable at times. And but yeah, I'm still figuring it out. I'm still, like, everything we've done has been like a discovery process of like, does this work? Will people like this? Does this satisfy me?
But you're the kind of talent, if you're not sure if it works, you'll do it anyway. Am I correct in assuming
a little
that?
bit of that, yeah. I mean, I can never be super sure. I don't generally put out stuff that I don't feel good about.
But you also, tell me if I'm wrong on this, you don't seem to care if they laugh or not.
No, I don't. I care I mean, I guess I'm not sure.
You're an entertainer. You're not a stand-up. You're not a musician. Yeah. You're doing somewhat performance
I'm not
art.
looking to provoke people into not laughing.
No, I understand that.
I'm hoping people
right,
laugh, but
if they don't, you don't seem to care.
No, I don't. No, I guess not.
That's really bold.
Yeah.
Because when I started doing stand-up in the 70s, and I'd play all the comedy clubs in town, your biggest fear was bombing. If you didn't go out there and get, joke, laugh, joke, you'd want to kill yourself. You'd walk off stage and you go, I bombed, I sucked, I'll never work again, all that major depression stuff that stand-ups go through.
Yeah.
All the stuff I watched, and I spent the greater part of yesterday really concentrating, you didn't seem to care. And you've got a lot of stuff online.
Yeah.
Some of it goes back 16 years.
Yeah.
Okay, and I saw the growth.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw you in a comedy club when you were obviously just starting off.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I was there. What motivates us when we know we're actually not doing that great to keep going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's very from that Kaufman place of like, I'm doing it for myself, and maybe like 3 people in that room who know what's going on and know what I'm trying to do. And they're probably laughing. Their laughter represents 20 people or something, like if they're into it, that's even better.
Yeah.
I mean, the more people that do laugh means I get to do more things, right?
But you're obviously not having trouble getting booked. You're going on another tour.
No, yeah, there's enough. I'm always striving for more. I'm always sort of thinking like, well, this doesn't have to just be for only this little slim margin of people. But I don't I'm not changing what I do to try to get that pool of people.
Yeah, you don't care about the masses, so to speak.
Yeah.
You've got I'm not going to say a finite audience, but the people who came in and saw you enjoyed the hell out of you. They laugh like crazy.
Yes, yeah.
And that's great,
Yeah, I mean, everything is so, I think the word is bifurcated or broken up now. There isn't a real big mass audience for anything, because we can all watch our own little things or go to our own little shows. So
that's what's changed, because there was no cable even when I started doing this stuff. So now there's streaming and there's YouTube, and there's a million different ways to do this now.
Yeah,
to make a living. There are people who don't even do clubs; they just do the web.
Yeah.
And have a hell of a following.
Yeah. I look at a band like Fish, who I don't like.
I don't get them.
I don't get it.
But they just filled the Hollywood Bowl the other night.
3 nights.
Yeah.
And you could probably talk to, people know who they are, but they're not on the radio, and you're not going to see them on. You might see them on a talk show or something, maybe, but they're not in the popular culture.
It's like the Grateful Dead. I never got that at all.
Yeah.
But, obviously they were very popular.
Sure.
For years. People would go crazy and sit at those concerts for hours and fish the same way.
Yeah.
So you and I obviously agree 100% on that. So I wasn't married yet. I was dating my wife-to-be. And I was working in a place called the Magic Castle, and I thought I was just amazing. I thought it was really fun and funny and entertaining. So I bring my wife to the show, and I thought, there's used to be this line at the Comedy Store, a guy would be on stage and die, and then he'd come off and say, I killed, and we used to say, he has laugh ears. He really thinks he's doing well, but he's not. So I don't know if that was my case or not, but I thought I kicked ass. And I went up to my wife-to-be, and I said, what do you think? And she said to me, you've got a lot of work to do. Yeah.
Ouch.
A lot of work to do. And
Yeah.
I said, what are you talking about? No, this and that. And I went, oh, my God, that was a wake-up call. You've been married how long?
Now I'm in trouble. 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
And your wife is a performer?
No.
Oh, I thought she was.
She was when I met her, she was doing some acting.
That's what I thought.
And was on that path. And wisely, not because of her talents or anything, but she said, forget
Not for me.
this. Yeah, I'm going to do something else. So she's actually in school. She's going back. She went to college. She never went to college because she kind of went to acting school and all that kind of stuff. And is now studying and getting a science degree. But
Nice.
we also have had 2 kids, so there's been like lots of stops and starts. And
So what does she think about what you do? Does she get it?
yeah. Oh, I mean, she's my first audience usually. Whenever I am testing something out or have a rough cut of something coming in or demos, she's next to me in bed and I play her something or I show her something and usually get a good, almost always. I mean, sometimes there'll be eye rolls or there'll be kind of like, oh my God, that's so stupid. Or, but, she's totally with me in that way.
I mean, I think they have to be.
Yeah.
I finally convinced my wife. Obviously, I've been married almost 50 years, but you want them to love what you do.
Yeah.
You don't want them to roll the eyes all the time.
Right.
But it's hard, And your kids, what do they think? Do you goof around with them?
Oh yeah. I mean, my kids are really funny, and they haven't seen everything I've done, but they get tastes of it here and there, and they started picking up on some old. I think I'm going to show them some Tim and Eric stuff soon. That there's like a version of Tim and Eric, the Awesome Show, that works really well as a kid's show because it's just very colorful and silly, and then you can cut out some of like the sexual references, and I mean, not even there's like a lot of scatological humor too that would play great with them. There's a lot of diarrhea talk, and,
that always works.
Yeah, I mean that's
nothing's funnier than pooping, man.
Ageless and timeless. So,
the passions, you got comedy, you got music, and film. Obviously, is another passion. Tell me how the whole on cinema thing developed.
Oh well,
and explain to people if they don't know what that is.
It's very difficult. I'll try it, but it's the essence of it is it's a parody of a Siskel and Ebert show. These 2 guys reviewing movies, but pretty early on it turned into this soap opera where these 2 guys don't know anything about movies. They're 2, for very different reasons, 2 of the worst people in the world. And it's this saga. It's a soap opera. It's a multiverse, sort of thing where there's sideshows and there's specials, and there was a fake documentary that came out a couple years ago, and it's just a really special thing that my character is the center of it. Me and Greg Turkington play versions of ourselves, and I'm sort of this Trumpian, narcissistic. Is narcissistic a word, or is it just a narcissist?
No, it is.
Selling get-rich-quick schemes and just a terrible guy. But and Greg is just one of these kind of movie freaks who it started out a little tamer where he was just a guy that loves movies. But now it's become where he's like, there's something sick about this guy. Like he collects them and he collects them in a weird way. He cares about the wrong things. He likes movies for all the wrong reasons. So we've been doing that for over 10 years now, and started our own streaming site to pay for it as a subscription-only thing called the High Network, HEI, network.tv. And it's been going great. It funds
everything else.
It funds this one season a year and a big Oscar special we do that it's not cheap. And we've got the other thing about it that I think is really different than everything else is the audience for that show lives in character with us. So it becomes kind of this role-playing game. If you get in and you go onto the chats and the Reddits and everything, you can like assimilate yourself as a fan of me or a fan of Greg, and we interact with them, and we interact with them in character, and stuff and art gets made and songs get written and things like just this stuff blossoms over the years where you can communicate about the show in character. And I don't know if there's
But the people buy into the fact that you are those people, which is not easy. I mean,
they know that I'm not.
I understand that.
Yeah, but
they play well.
Yeah, they play well.
Yeah.
And we started using social media, Twitter mostly, to like tell more of the story of the show. So if you follow the Twitter, you are learning more about what happened off camera and all that stuff. So I don't think there's anything, I mean, not to boast, there's nothing like, no one else really did that, I think. Maybe there's other things, but it's really fun. And we saw early on that you could do this little show and tell stories in nonlinear ways and using other platforms than just the show.
Yeah. No, it works.
Cool.
No question, it works. I don't know this story. I was just told to ask you this question.
All right.
Tell me, I know it's show business and it happens all the time. You actually got stabbed in the back, somebody told me.
Literally.
Tell me about this.
Oh, well, it was a long time ago. It's not far from here, just up the street.
Really?
Yeah, on Sunset and Talmadge.
Oh yeah, we are close.
Yeah, very close. I was living in this bungalow over there first, like 3 years after moving here, and had a neighbor who had a son who was in college, who was living there, and it was unfortunate. He was like got into I don't know what it was, if it was PCP or angel dust or some kind of those bath salts. Remember when bath salts were going around? Yeah. It was something like that.
Oh man.
And she thought he was overdosing. It was 11 o'clock at night, 11:30 at night. She thought he was kind of dying and ran down and grabbed me for help. I ran up and found he was not dying. He was like an animal, with a big kitchen knife in his hand, ready to go at whoever came up those steps.
And it happened to be you.
And it was me. I immediately ran back down the steps in my bare feet and pajamas, and just was running like your animal instinct kicks in and you just flee. And so I fled into the street. He came running after me, chased me about 2 blocks. And at some point during that run, he got me twice in the back.
Good God.
But I ran into this great bar on the corner, gay bar, Akbar, which has been there for years, like one of the original gay bars in L.A., I think. I might be making that up, but I know it's sort of like a landmark place. But they were still open, and it was raging with guys and big, big bouncers. So I ran into there, and they tackled the guy to the ground and
Good God.
took him away, went to the hospital, and luckily I received a bunch of stitches and took some time to recover, but it was, no internal organs.
Very lucky.
But it was very close. Could have been very bad.
And has that affected your life, or has that sort of been
sure.
erased?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a period of sort of post-traumatic stress.
How could there not be?
It felt good because it's like, okay, I feel I have anxiety going out at night, but that's natural. I was just stabbed,
Wow.
That's okay. So I thought it made me like the positive side of it was first when it came to like dealing with this kid, I felt like, I'm not going to press charge. Like,
really?
Yeah, because it was like he was 19. he got into some bad shit. And what's he going to do? Go to jail and like get turned into a worse person? That was my first thought. So, I mean, it wasn't just up to me. It was, you can't do that in society. There's consequences.
So what happened to him?
So I think he went into a
rehab
center, like a halfway house. He did some time that wasn't like hard, jail. And nothing, I've kind of lost touch with him after the years, but I think he got through that. And so, I mean, when he came to, I'll say he came to, he didn't know what he did. He was like, why am I here? What happened?
Whoa.
You just stabbed your neighbor. And so that's heavy. And I was like,
yeah,
I don't, I'd hate for something like that to happen to me. But yes, we're all responsible for our choices and everything. And the other thing was like, I knew from that experience that you worry about like, you have the dream where you're not running fast enough because you're getting you're like running through mud. It's like, no, when your life is in danger, you book it.
Yeah.
And you like, and it was like, oh, I wanted to live. Like something like there's an internal like
an adrenaline
thing that makes you that helps you survive.
But you had to be in pain when you're running into that bar.
I think you're shocked. You're shocked
so.
and you're.
Wow.
I didn't feel pain for like maybe another 20 minutes or something. And
Good God.
But yeah.
Sorry to bring up the story, but somebody said ask, and
it's not a funny story, but it's true.
Oh my God.
And yeah, so it's been almost 20 years probably. So, but it's nice to got the scars. It's kind of it's fun thing to show people.
You and I have one thing in common. We both were on Workaholics. I was on season 1.
Oh, wow.
I got the phone call. I didn't know who these guys were.
Yeah.
And I went and did it, and it follows me forever because that show was such a major hit initially.
They show that constantly somewhere.
Oh, my God. I still get residuals. I mean, 12 years later or something. They just,
Yeah.
the checks come in the mail. But so what kind of part did you play in it? I played myself. I always play myself.
Yeah, that's nice. I played a preacher, like a preacher, like a televangelist.
Fun.
Yeah, nice guys.
Very.
I always I get parts here and there, and I do acting. And
you got a lot of stuff. I'm going through.
Yeah.
I downloaded the 12 pages here. Tell me about working with Sarah Silverman.
Oh, Sarah's great. I've known her years. She did our first cartoon. She's hilarious. I
always loved her.
A business with her and Eric and Michael Cera and Reggie Watts for a little bit. So we were in biz together. And,
fun.
But she's hilarious. Yeah.
Drunk History. Love that show.
Fun.
Yeah.
Easy, fun. I mean, not easy. It was trying to lip sync to that stuff is actually not something I'm great at.
Yeah. But that, I saw that kind of stuff. And we've done cartoon voices. You did The Simpsons, I saw.
Crazy, right?
I did the Cleveland show.
Oh, that's no Simpsons.
No. Wait, you put The Simpsons above Cleveland?
Yeah, it's
How about,
Smithsonian level shit there. So,
do you have a favorite animated series?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess The Simpsons. What's cool is my son and daughter both, but my son in particular loves The Simpsons right now. He's all into it, and I grew up watching it. So
longest running sitcom, really.
It's crazy how pan-generational it is.
It's fun doing that stuff, though. I did first time I did Robot Chicken. I had never done any voiceovers for cartoons, and I came in and I said to Seth, how long is this going to take? He said, well, if you're good at it, you'll be out in the door in 20 minutes. And he said, if you suck at it and you're here more than 2 hours, you'll never come back again.
Oh, my God. That's
But
funny.
I ended up doing a bunch of them, which was great. Have you done Robot Chicken?
No, I don't think so.
So tell me what's coming forward to you. What's the one thing you haven't done that you'd love to do?
Oh, well, I've done everything.
Yeah, you really have.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's a question of scaling. What I'm doing now, just scaling it up. That's a gross word, I know, but it's accurate. It's like, keep doing what I'm doing, keep going on this path, but just like make it so it's a little easier or not easier, but it's just bigger and there's more support under it. Because we do this tour hey, I would love another, I'd love to bring on another roadie, or I'd love to bring on a lighting guy. All this stuff it all comes down to money. Marc.
Yeah, it always does.
It's just like, how can we do what we're doing for more people? And win some kind of award at some point.
Have you thought about doing a one-man show?
I think. I look at the tour I do, and it's not a one-man show because there is a band.
Yeah.
But it's not just a stand-up show, and it's not just a music show. It does feel like I try. My aspiration for it is to make it feel like an evening of me, and that. So there's comedy and music, and there's moments that maybe might get you a little choked up, and from laughing and from sort of the emotional side of it. So I think I'm doing my one-man show. It's just there's other people on stage.
Now that Andy's no longer around, and you can still admire him, but is there anybody in the industry that you look up to and say, "Wow, that's a great career. I'd love to be able to do that"?
Oh, I think back to Steve Coogan. I think the character of Alan Partridge, it doesn't really play over here, but I love how he's kept that going and evolved it and made it, and it's like one of those things where nobody here knows it, but if you're in England, he's like a massive star.
Yeah, superstar.
So yeah, I want to be America's Steve Coogan.
That's a great thing to go for. Sometimes when you dissect comedy, people would say it's not that interesting. I found this fascinating, and you've educated me a lot, and I admire the hell out of you.
Oh, thank you.
For what you do. I would have never had the guts to do what you do, but you stick with it. You believe in what you do. Obviously, other people believe in what you do.
Yeah.
But that music part of your life, man, I'm telling you, I'm just applauding you like crazy.
Oh, thanks. I'll send you the new one. It's not ready yet, but that's my next big thing is I have a new record that I'm trying to get together and figure out how to put it, like the whole journey of putting a record out is
got to be impossible,
it's
right?
A lot. Well, we'll put it out, but like what the cover's going to be, how do we describe it? How do we, all the marketing and all that stuff. So
and it's all digital these days anyway. Isn't it?
Well, no, they're putting out records, like real records that people want to have, which is
I
nice.
prefer to do that. You know, back in the day when you could go to the store. And
just browse through.
Just browse through.
Yeah.
I discovered so many artists that I didn't know existed by putting on headphones and going, oh, my God, they're amazing.
Or getting recommendations from
people
smart
in the store.
People that work there, yeah.
I know, it's just
great.
so hard to do that now. You kind of follow it online. But when something sparks, as your music did to me,
it's so nice.
I thought, oh, my God, it's talented in so many ways.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough for coming here.
Thank you, Marc.
For educating me about comedy and generationally. I mean, my kids are basically your age. So, and although because I influence them, they have certain points of view, they go see shows and I go, I have no idea what the hell that even is.
Yeah.
And so I try to be open-minded enough to learn and find out what other people are watching and doing. And you can do that by going down a rabbit hole online. But thank you for letting me do your show. Thank you for coming and doing my show. And I wish you continued success on the tour and whatever else you choose to do.
This was a blast. Thank you, Marc.
Thank you, sir. Unwrapping Tim Heidecker, and we'll see you next week with more. Take care. Marc Summers Unwraps is a production of Believe Limited, created by me, Marc Summers, and Jessica Richmond. Produced by Keith Corneluk and Jessica Richmond. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Ryan Gielen. Post-production support from Joshua Sterling Bragg and Believe Limited. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you really love it, why don't you leave us a rating and a review? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Marc Summers Unwraps.